Okay, in this section, what we want to do is we want to talk about the subtraction of real numbers, okay? And we've already kind of talked about this, how when you are adding a negative, that's the same thing as subtraction, okay? And so what we're going to do today is we're going to subtract real numbers and simplify combinations of additions and subtractions, and then we're going to solve some application problems involving the subtraction of real numbers. So, you know, what I want you to think of, you know, adding the opposite is really mean just adding a negative. Okay, so if I have 3 minus 7, if you're, you know, if that's something that you know, are able to do in your head and you kind of know what you're doing, you can also write this as 3 plus negative 7. For me, I prefer to see it as 3 minus 7. Okay, and I can use a number line with this. All right, same thing is when you added a negative number is the same thing as subtracting. So, you know, if I start here at 0 and move to 3, 1, 2, 3, and there's my point, and then if I move to the left 7, start here at 3 and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where do I end up? Okay, and that number is negative 4, and that's what 3 minus 7 is. It's negative 4. Okay, again, do this in your head. Verify it with a number line, verify with a calculator, okay? All right, moving on. Let's do 5 minus 9. 5 minus 9 means that we're going to do, you know, start at 0, go to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And then we're going to move to the left 9, okay? So now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we're at negative 4. Okay, cool. So this gives us also negative 4. Okay, not every answer is going to give us negative 4. That's just a coincidence. Okay, what about negative 3 minus 2? Okay, same thing. Let's start at negative 3. So let's go to 0. Go 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we're going to go to the left 2 and continue over and then do 1, 2, and you stop at negative 5, and this is going to give you negative 5. Okay, and it's the same thing as if you did negative 3 plus negative 2. Going to give you also negative 5. Okay, so that's the idea. All right, let's take a look at something that's kind of new, and that's subtracting the opposite. Okay, now you have to think about this. Okay, if you subtract a negative, okay, what's the opposite of negative 2? Okay, and that's actually going to be positive. So subtracting the opposite, and let me just write this down. Okay, when you subtract a negative, okay, it really means just adding, okay? And so what I do, whenever I see this, I think of negative 7 minus negative 2. The opposite of negative 2 is really just adding 2, okay? And some teachers, you know, would do this, where they, you know, if you have 2 negatives, then you put those 2 parts in there and it turns into addition, okay? So it's kind of like a visual way of doing that. All right, so then what's negative 7 plus 2? All right, so let's go ahead and start at 0. Okay, let's move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's at negative 7, and we go to the right 2, 1, 2, it brings us to negative 5, and that's my answer, okay? So then, all right, if I have negative 4 minus negative 3, then really what I'm doing is I'm doing negative 4 plus 3. Okay, so whenever I see this, all right, whenever I see this subtracting a negative, I do, in fact, turn it into this. Okay, I always write that. And so then what I do is I go to negative 4, so I start at 0, and I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I move 3 units to the right, okay? And then I go 1, 2, 3. Where are we at? We're at negative 1, so this gives me negative 1, okay? And that's the idea. All right, next one, negative 5 minus negative 9. Well, really, this is going to be negative 5 plus 9. And so what I want to do is I want to come over here, and I move over to negative 5. Okay, and then I'm going to add 9. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where do I end up? I end up at 4. Okay, so how, you know, guys, there's ways for you to do this in your head. You don't have to always do this, on the number line, but, as long as you get the right answer and you're able to do this, that's really all that matters, okay? Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about subtracting fractions. And on this part, what I want to do is I want to rewrite this first as -1/2. If I'm subtracting, subtracting -3/4, I want to turn this into +3/4. Okay, I want to write that first before I do anything. Okay, now what I think about are the 2 and 4. Okay, the common denominator between 2 and 4. Now this is kind of a cool one. It's nice and easy because I know if I take 2 and I multiply it by 2, I'm going to get 4. Okay, so all I need to do in getting a common denominator here is manipulate this fraction here on the left side. I don't need to do that because I already have my common denominator of 4. So now I'm going to do 2 times 1, which is going to give me 2. All right, so I'm going to do 2 over 4. Now this value is negative. So I've got -2/4 plus 3/4. Okay, and then what I do is I say, okay, if I've got -2/4 plus 3/4, then I'm going to do -2 plus 3 all over 4. All right, and then I'm going to rewrite that as 3 plus -2. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 plus -2 over 4. I can reorder those. And then that's really just a subtraction problem. So then it's just 3 minus 2 over 4. Okay, and 3 minus 2 is just going to give me 1 over 4, and that's my answer. Okay, now guys, am I requiring that you do all of these steps? No. Okay. If I were doing this problem myself, I would write down this step, okay? I would get a common denominator and I would write this out. And then what I would do is I would just take -2 plus 3, and I just know that that's 3 minus 2 in my head, and that gives me 1. Okay, so I really wouldn't do all these steps. However, this is what's going on in my head, all right? And I don't recommend skipping steps if you get the question right consistently. Okay, if you're always getting them right and you can skip steps, then do it. But if you skip steps and then you are getting questions wrong, then you need to show your work, and you really need to think about what you're doing from one step to the other. Okay, and all these steps that I'm doing have purpose to them. Okay, I'm not just doing them randomly. Okay, all right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay. And so on this one, I've got 2/3 minus -5/6, okay? And so what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to do 2/3 plus 5/6, okay? So now what I have on this is I have 2 over 3 and 5 over 6. So my numbers are 3, my denominators are 3 and 6. Now 3, I can multiply 3 by 2 to give me 6, okay? So I don't need to do that. This is kind of nice. I don't have to do the other ones and find another common denominator. Okay, so we're just going to multiply across. All right, so 2 times 2 is going to give me 4 over 2 times 3, which is 6, and then plus 5/6. And then what I'm going to do, I have a common denominator of 6, so I write that as 4 plus 5 all divided by 6. Okay, now if I add 4 and 5 together, I can just do that, and that's just going to give me 9 over 6. Now these numbers are both divisible by 3. So I can take these numbers and divide each of them by 3 to simplify this, and that's going to end up giving me 3 over 2, and that's my answer. Okay, as a decimal, that number would be 1.5. Okay, and then if I really wanted to put it as a mixed number, I think is what it's called, 1 and 1/2. Okay, so all 3 of these are the same number. Okay, and you can use those interchangeably. All right. Okay, let's talk about adding multiple numbers together. And on this one, what I want to do is rewrite these using positive numbers. So if I am subtracting a negative, like I am here and here, I want to rewrite this. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this first as 8, and then Okay, 8. Minus negative 4 is really just going to be 8 plus 4. And then I'm just subtracting a 2, so I can just subtract the 2. And then subtracting negative 4 is really adding 4 and then plus 2. Okay, so now I work from left to right. So now 8 plus 4 is going to give me 12. Okay, then minus 2 plus 4 plus 2. 12 minus 2 is going to give me 10. Plus 4 plus 2. And so 10 plus 4 is going to give me 14 plus 2, and then 14 plus 2 is going to give me 16. Okay, so that's what happens when you add all this together. So moves are left to right, and yeah, that's kind of it. So this one, a lot of questions on here. 1 through 89, every other odd. Okay, so you know, go through that and you know, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again. See ya. Bye.